Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Good afternoon. Yes, we can. Mr. Little's connecting right now, it looks like.
Okay. Not seeing my client.
Well, that was a little delay. Are you there, Mr. Little?
Hello?
Hello, Bob. Are you there?
Hey, how's it going?
Good, good. We've got Mr. Ledger here, and you're here. I'm not sure. Yeah, are you there?
Were you asking me?
That might be my client. Is that Robert Campbell?
Yes, sir.
That's my client, Judge. That's not
Oh.
Bob.
Oh,
Robert, are you able to turn the video on?
Says it's on.
Okay. Can you see us?
Yes.
like really delayed too.
Yeah, it says video's on.
All right. Well, just sit tight.
I'm still at work, so it might be a little loud in the background sometimes.
Are you there, Mr. Little? Is there a delayed response for you, Mr. Ledger? I've got about it.
Not at all. Not on my end.
Are you there, Mr. Little? Somebody's calling the office. That might be him. That's him on the phone with Madam Reporter now. He might have a microphone issue on his computer there. He might have a microphone issue, Amber.
Try now.
Yep, I hear.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can, Bob.
Okay, I do have a microphone then. Can you see me? Why does it have the camera blocked off? Well, there it is.
Now we can see you.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, now you've got us.
yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for your patience.
No problem.
Computers and gray hair don't always work well. Yeah, thank you.
No problem. And Mr. Campbell, you're just by audio only, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, let's go to some quick things here. We'll go on the record here in the White Circuit Court. All right, we've got cause number 91C01-1902-DC-06. It's in reference to the marriage of Emily Campbell and Robert Campbell. Looks like this Zoom proceeding based on a motion for emergency hearing based on some exchange issues. So in this Zoom hearing, looks like we've got Mrs. Campbell, along with her attorney, Mr. Bob Little there. We have Mr. Robert Campbell here by audio, and Mr. Brooks Ledger, his attorney's here as well. A couple quick things I got to go over the record here since we are doing this by Zoom. This is being played live stream for public access purposes on YouTube. If there are any objections to us doing this remote hearing by Zoom, please say so now, either by raising your hand or in the audio manner for Mr. Campbell. All right, there are no objections. Quick reminder that the Supreme Court does not allow any recording of this proceeding, whether that's by video means or audio means. I'm going to allow everybody to speak. One of the easiest things we do in these Zoom hearings, if somebody feels like they need to say something, best thing is go ahead and raise your hand. I'll keep a quick little notes here on the side that I know somebody wanted to say something, and we'll get that in there as well. If at any time you guys feel like you need a breakout session, for you, Mr. Little would be easy. I can just mute you guys. For Mr. Ledger and Mr. Campbell, I've got ability to put you guys in a little breakout room for attorneys and clients as well. If anybody feels like they need one of those, just let me know, okay? All right, so if I'm looking at the, we're here on Mr. Ledger's petition. Everybody have that in front of them. And another preliminary matter here, I believe. Mr. Ledger, did you receive the email from Mr. Little in reference to his potential 2 exhibits?
I did receive an email. It looked like a potential 4 exhibits.
Okay.
There were 4.
Yes. Okay. So I've got 4 for Mr. Little and 2 for Mr. Ledger. I apologize. 2 for Brooks.
There was 2 different exhibits attached to my motion behind tabs 1 and behind tab 2.
Okay.
And then I also attached a 3rd exhibit to that email, a calendar.
All right. So we've got tab 1 with some pictures, tab 2 at the end of your motion with another screenshot, or it looks like results. And we also have a proposed calendar that you have for your 3rd exhibit. Okay. Does everybody have all those items that you're aware of? Okay. All right. All right, Mr. Ledger, you may proceed.
All right, one more preliminary matter, Judge. In your order setting this hearing, I believe you limited in scope the issues we are addressing today. Can you go over those again, just so we make sure that we don't, get out of scope here and waste anybody's time?
At which time, the Zoom hearing to only specifically address the allegations regarding the BAC test and any denied makeup parenting time.
Okay,
That was based on your motion for a contempt citation.
very good.
All right, you may proceed.
Thank you, Judge. Could you please swear in Robert Campbell?
All right, Mr. Campbell, I can't see you, but I hope that you're listening.
Yes,
Please
sir.
raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury that the evidence or testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
Okay, go ahead, proceed, Mr. Ledger.
Please state your full name.
Robert Joseph Campbell,
Robert, where are you right now?
at work at Wabash National,
Okay, and where's that located at?
Lafayette, West Lafayette.
Okay, and you are the father in this matter, correct?
I am
And how old is your son?
5.
And Emily Campbell is the mother, correct?
Correct.
Okay, do you recall being in court on September 22nd, 2020?
I do. Yes, sir.
And at that time, do you recall reaching an agreement with Emily on several issues between you two? Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And that agreement was reduced to a written order approved by this court on September 29th, 2020. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Per paragraph 2 of that order, you were to have makeup parenting time the weekend of September 25th, 2020. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And that was the first weekend following the day we were in court. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Did you get your parenting time that weekend?
I did not.
Okay, what happened?
Preston had ringworm, and Emily felt that it was best that he stay home with her and not allow me to pick him up.
And did you agree with that, or what was your position on that?
No, I didn't agree at all, but I don't really have a choice in the matter.
Okay. Did the child really have ringworm that you know of?
He did, yes, on his leg. I was told it had gotten worse when we went to school, and it was still only in that one area. I called the school doctor to double check on it, and she said it was still in that one area also, and didn't notice any places else where it was spread to.
Okay, despite the ringworm, did you still want your parenting time that weekend?
Absolutely.
All right, what did you later come to find out about that weekend?
That she had a gender reveal party at her parents' house with other people there for her newborn kid.
What day was that?
I believe it was Saturday. And then
Saturday
on
of that weekend, okay.
yes, sir. And then on Sunday, she took him to her mother and father's, where her father took him to Indiana Beach.
Okay, and we submitted some pictures of these events. Is that right?
Yes.
And the picture attached behind, the first picture attached to our motion behind tab 1, can you describe for the court what that picture is?
I believe that one I don't have in front of me, but that's the one of him holding up a picture of the ultrasound from the day of the baby reveal party.
So it's your understanding that Preston, instead of you having parenting time that day, that Preston was at his mother's gender reveal party?
Correct.
And that picture shows as much. Is that correct?
Correct.
Judge, I'll move to admit that first photo behind our tab 1.
Can you identify who took that picture or how he got it?
Robert, do you know
It
how
was
you got
sent to
that?
me by Emily.
You hear that, Judge?
Yes, I didn't know if Mr. Little had any other preliminary questions.
All right, move to admit.
Any objections, Mr. Little?
Did he say how he got I didn't hear if he answered the question. I
Okay, yeah,
object if you can't describe how he got this picture and
Oh.
what it portrays and when it was taken.
Mr. Campbell stated that he received it from Emily.
And did he say, when did you receive it from Emily?
Mr.
I don't have
Campbell?
the specific, yeah, I don't have the specific date, sir, but it was the week after, I believe, when we were in conversation
objection.
about some other issues.
All right, no objection, petitioner's exhibit, I'm sorry, father's exhibit is admitted. That'll be exhibit number 1. Go ahead, Mr. Ledger.
All right. And Robert, what did you learn that Preston ended up doing on Sunday, September 27th?
He was with his grandfather, Emily's father.
I'm going to object. I'm thinking he's giving hearsay testimony at this point as to what other people may have told him, unless he can identify that he was present and this is facts he's testifying to of his own knowledge.
Okay, we've got an objection for some hearsay testimony, Mr. Ledger.
Judge, he was supposed to have parenting time that weekend.
Okay.
And the child wasn't with him. He was with the mother. He later learned the child was
That's the point of the objection. He learned. Did he get that through somebody telling him, and how?
Judge, it goes to
information.
It goes to credibility, not admissibility here.
Well, hearsay is hearsay, and that is admissibility.
So, so far, the testimony states that the court ordered that he was to have that weekend. Your client's already testified that he didn't get him because of ringworm through mother, right?
Well, that's not his exact testimony. His testimony was that she had a gender reveal party that she wanted the child to attend.
All right. So what I'm thinking at the end of the day, mother kept the child for, at that time, maybe it was a legitimate reason for ringworm, which, as we always know, the physical custodian can withhold, but they need to work out some makeup time. So if the court already ordered this weekend to be his, and she said, hey, he's got ringworm, whether he's at a gender reveal or party or not, he still gets the makeup weekend, as far as I can tell. So I think maybe to save a little time there, unless Mr. Little has some other objections to that belief.
No, we have no objection. He's entitled to a makeup weekend for that weekend. Our objection is to the timing on it, and the gender reveal party did not happen until October 8th. But
okay,
if that's not the issue, then we don't need to present evidence on it.
Okay. We can move on.
okay. So it's safe to say that father is entitled to another makeup weekend. That ordered weekend was September. If I look at my calendar here, that would have been September 25th.
Yes.
Which was a Friday and due back the 27th. Is that correct? All
Yes,
right,
Judge.
so he's entitled to 3 makeup days. Is that correct? 25, 26, 27? Or is it just 2?
It's a weekend, Judge.
Yeah, the weekend. Okay, so he will get
Friday
one
night
weekend.
to Sunday evening.
Yeah, all right. So he's going to get one weekend made up. Okay,
All right. We'll move on, Judge.
okay.
Robert, another requirement of that order that we entered into from the September 22nd hearing was that as a condition of your parenting time, you were to submit to and pass a portable breath test with a reading of 0.00 in order to exercise parenting time. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And that condition also included the caveat that mother would supply the portable breath instrument. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Have you submitted to a breathalyzer test every single time you went to exercise parenting time?
Yes, sir.
Have you ever refused to take one?
No, sir.
Have you had a positive reading on any of them?
No, sir.
And this is all since September 22nd, correct?
Correct.
Are there some occasions where mother will declined to administer the BAC test to you?
There's been 3 different occasions.
Can you provide any details or examples or dates for the court?
I don't have the exact dates in front of me. One time was at her house, or would have been her fiance's house. Another time was at my parents' house, and I've asked her, hey, are we gonna do this? One time she turned around, just walked away and didn't answer. And the other, well, but I guess all 3 times there was just no answer.
Okay, so the reason it wasn't administered, was it any fault on your part for that?
No, sir.
All right, and as of today, you object to this BAC testing requirement as a condition of your parenting time, is that right?
Yes, sir.
What are the main reasons why you object to this?
The way it has been administered, you know, when I go to pick him up at her house, most times the father's there, her fiance comes out, her fiance's son comes out, they all sit there and just watch me, stare at my father and I. And not only that, it's administered in front of my son most times. And I don't believe that's fair to him as well.
Is it creating a lot of conflict between you and the mother?
Yes, sir.
And this conflict is happening right in front of your son because it's happening at an exchange, is that correct?
Sometimes, yes, sir.
And did an incident happen on Wednesday, December 16th regarding this BAC testing?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what happened?
Well, after we had found out that she was exposed to COVID and was still having symptoms, I did not feel comfortable using her machine, as she had pulled it out of her pocket and it was in her hands. And I did not want to stick the instrument in my mouth. So I said, I don't want to use your instrument for that reason, but I have my parents' instrument that they bought, and I will use that in lieu of your instrument, just to show that I'm not refusing because of some other reason. And it was okay twice, and then the 3rd time it was not okay.
So it was not okay. So what happened?
She said it's court ordered that you use my machine. I said, well, I do not feel comfortable using your machine because of the COVID, because of symptoms. And her dad said, well, yeah, it's court ordered as well, because he was standing there. I said, listen, I have my machine right here. I'll use it. She said, well, you're not getting your son then. And her and Preston, her father, and her fiance, Peter, and their son all walked away.
So you didn't get your
rolled the
midweek.
window down after. Sorry, go ahead.
No, finish your sentence. I'm sorry.
So I got back in my father's car, rolled the window down to tell Preston that I love him and then I'm sorry. And she turned around and said, no, you're not sorry. You don't care.
Could you tell from Preston's reaction how he was feeling?
He looked very sad. The look in his eye was not one that I like to see. And he did respond back and say that he loves me.
Have you gotten a makeup midweek visit from that incident?
I have not.
So this BAC testing, it's causing conflict between you and the mother, right?
Yes, sir.
All happening right in front of the child. It's causing you to unnecessarily miss parenting time. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Is there any good reason to have this BAC testing in place anymore, Robert?
I do not feel it is at all.
You're currently on probation, correct?
Yes, sir.
Have you been complying with the terms of your probation?
Yes, sir.
Do you have a substance abuse evaluation scheduled?
January 12th.
Are you currently working full-time now?
Yes, sir.
And it's a new job, correct?
Yes, sir.
So are you still kind of training, learning new things?
Yes, sir. I'm still in my probationary period.
Per that agreed order we entered into, your visits were supposed to be, or your parenting time is supposed to be supervised by your parents. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Have you been complying with that condition?
Yes, sir. I will say that there was one time that I took my son to get my vehicle washed and my parents weren't with me. But other than that, my parents have been with us all the time, the whole time. And my father has come and picked him up with me every single time as well.
Is all your
And
parenting
dropped him
time,
off.
is all your parenting time taking place at your parents' house?
It is.
And one more condition of that, of this agreed order was that you were not to consume alcohol while exercising parenting time or before parenting time is set to begin. Have you been complying with that condition?
Yes, sir.
So in order to orderly facilitate parenting time, you're asking the court to terminate this BAC testing requirement. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And you're also asking for some makeup time that was missed because of the BAC testing and because of the September 25th weekend. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Nothing further, Judge. Well, wait, one more item, Judge. If you allow us real quickly, I believe we have a dispute about the exchange date for the Christmas vacation. That's the reason for my calendar exhibit. I think we'll need some direction from the court.
Have you talked to Mr. Little about this?
If I can, we've talked about it. It comes down to how people are counting, I believe. It seems to me that he's been asking for December 26th at 2 p.m. in the afternoon. My client initially was counting halfway through being on the 27th, but she is agreeable to the 26th if we do it at 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock has the equity of the Christmas period start on December 18 at 5 o'clock and it goes through December 26 at 5 o'clock. Visitation for the fathers starts at 5 o'clock then on the 26th through the following Sunday, January 2nd, or whatever that Sunday is, actually at 6 o'clock. So there is still an extra hour in there, and that doesn't affect the Christmas Day visitation. So the dispute, in my opinion, really comes down to, does he get his Christmas starting on 2 o'clock or 5 o'clock on the 26th?
Mr. Ledger, is that your belief or no? Or do you believe it's a different day?
No, we're good with the 26th. That was our position too, that's when the exchange would be. We had requested 2 o'clock. She's requesting 5 o'clock. Robert, what's your position on that?
Well, my position is, I believe the child parenting guidelines read 8 o'clock in the morning specifically. The reason I'm asking for 2 o'clock is because I do have to work that Saturday. And I'm not allowed to miss any work time or days during my probationary period. So 2 o'clock would be as soon as I can get off of work and get over there to pick him up with my father.
Judge, I would add, the guidelines do say no exchanges under this portion of the rule shall occur after 9 p.m. and before 8 a.m. absent agreement of the parties. So it's really just, it comes down to that exchange time on the 26th.
And this isn't, I mean, there's a caveat there for Christmas Day, or is this the holiday of his year or our year?
I believe that Christmas Day is the father's entitled to his son from noon till 9 p.m. on the 25th. He's made that request and
Okay.
we agree with
So I'm
that.
losing that.
All right, that's what I was trying to make sure of, that we've gotten the actual Christmas day
Yeah,
taken
the
care of.
Christmas is in there and for what it's worth, that does affect, that takes 9 hours out of my client's 8 days. But that's the way it is.
That's the way the holiday schedules are. She'll get it next year.
So
Okay.
in any event, Judge, I mean, I can rest here, and we just ask the court to, give us an order as to the exchange time on the 26th.
All right. So I'm going to let Mr. Little now. You have any questions for Mr. Campbell?
Yes, a couple questions here on the. I know you presented this as the denial that first weekend of the makeup in September being the fault of my client for having another party planned for to include her son in. You weren't present for that, and you don't know from your own personal knowledge when that gender reveal party took place, do you?
No, sir.
And the picture that you have of your son was several days after that weekend, showing that he was going to be a big brother. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. On the BAC testing, sounds to me like your complaint is you don't want to have to take BAC tests at all anymore. Is that correct?
It's not necessarily that, sir. It's the way it's administered. But I feel that it's no longer necessary. And I believe that was going to be part of our court date, December 1st, which was rescheduled due to the COVID from your client. But mainly, sir, it's just the way it's been administered. I just don't feel comfortable with it, and I don't believe it needs to go on any further.
So you're not comfortable taking a BAC. Is that what you're saying? Or you're not comfortable with taking her BAC, or you're not comfortable taking it with your son watching you? Which is it?
I'm not comfortable with my son watching, and I'm not comfortable with her fiance and her father walking over and standing right outside of my father's vehicle, basically just staring us down for no necessary reason at all.
Do they speak to you?
This last time, yes, they did.
And that's when the dispute arose, when you refused to take her machine test. Is that correct?
I refused to take her machine test because of the COVID symptoms that she had, but I offered to still take it with my own machine, with my parents' machine.
I was not going to not having any more symptoms. There's no reason for it.
The mother's symptom, do you know when they began in December? Weren't they 2 weeks earlier?
Well, it would have been from December 1st when the court date was moved.
Okay. Have you taken steps besides having a substance abuse evaluation scheduled for January to address the problem of consumption of alcohol?
Yes, I went into a rehab at Sycamore Springs.
When was that?
That was late spring, and that helped tremendously. And also, I've been spending an exorbitant amount of time with my family and my parents. And just the fact that I feel better now, and now that I'm sober, has been wanting to see my son on a regular basis is all I need.
Okay. You've had other rehab in the past besides Sycamore Springs last spring, is that correct?
I had one more stint at Sycamore Springs before that, prior to that, yes.
And in 2019, you also had an extended inpatient rehab treatment. Is that correct?
That would have been the one I'm referring to.
Okay. And all of those took place prior to our September 22 hearing and order. So since September 22, other than spending a lot of time with your parents and feeling better, what steps have you taken to address the issue of alcohol abuse?
Being abstinent from it.
Do you know why your parents bought a BAC machine?
Just to make sure the validity of the test that was being administered by your client was valid.
Had you ever tested positive on her machine that raised you that question for you?
I have not.
Okay. I have nothing further.
Mr. Campbell, since this court order went in September, have you had any arrests or anything to deal alcohol related?
No, sir.
Have you done any tests with your probation department since the last court order?
Yes, well, since October 7th, I believe.
And have any of those came back test positive for alcohol?
No, sir. Not that I was told. Nope.
Oh, I'm certain you'd be told if you were on probation.
All right.
We mentioned that. Did we say-
I have no other questions for your witness, Mr. Ledger. Any follow-up or omitted, Mr. Little?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Anything else, Mr. Ledger?
No, Judge.
Okay. Mr. Little, you got any testimony you'd like to offer?
Yes, I'd like to offer the testimony of the mother, Emily Campbell.
All right. Ms. Campbell, if you'll please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury that the evidence or testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes,
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Little.
Thank you, Your Honor. Could you state your name, please?
Emily Campbell,
And what's your address, Emily?
1185 North Saddlebrook Court, Monticello, Indiana.
And that's the address where the pickups of your son by his father and grandparent have been taking place since the last court order. Is that correct?
Correct.
I don't know if it's still an issue or not, but I want to address it just briefly. Your ex has made the allegation that there was a gender reveal party on the weekend of September 25. That was the weekend that your son had ringworm. Do you recall that weekend?
I do.
And what was the effect of the ringworm on him on the 25th and the 26th?
The effect was that he was very lethargic. He had a fever, and he also slept for 14 straight hours Friday night, Friday afternoon into Friday night, and then Saturday he was the same way. He was lethargic and very sleepy and tired.
And you had communicated that with the father and continued to be in communication with him concerning his condition even as he progressed on Saturday.
Correct. I sent text messages and pictures.
And in fact, if I could just do this generically, the text attached as Exhibit 1 of our proposed exhibits are the text messages dated from that time week in September.
Yes.
Was there ever a gender reveal party?
There was on October 8th.
And that was more than a week later? Was that a midweek date?
It was, yeah. It was an
And-
evening.
And it was in conjunction with that you eventually sent the picture of your son wearing that shirt. Is that correct?
Right. The picture of him wearing the shirt is just when I told him, excuse me, that I was pregnant and that he was going to be a big brother. That's the picture that Robert has. The gender reveal party was done with streamers, and I have videos of that. That was all done on October 8th.
Okay, so that was not the reason he did not get to see his son on that weekend.
Absolutely not.
And we do agree he's entitled to his makeup weekend.
Yes.
Let's address the BAC testing. He stated there were 3 times, I identified 2 of them where he did not take a test. And apparently you did not offer him a test in those times. Is that correct?
Right.
And that's not an issue. He still got visitation those weekends or those midweeks.
Yeah, that was actually when I picked Preston up. One time the battery on my BAC machine was dead, and I did not know that until I got there to his house. The other time was, I believe, I was told last minute that where I had to pick Preston up at, so I rushed out of the house and forgot it. So
Okay. And was there a weekend, I'm sorry, was there a time in December when there was also, your machine was not used?
yes, so the first time he picked Preston up after we were out of quarantine, after my COVID test was negative, I was no longer having symptoms. I did allow him to use his machine to pick Preston up, and that was fine. I agreed to that time. I told him I would clean it and replace the tip for the next week, and that he would start to use mine again. In which I did that and showed him that it was a new tip, that it was cleaned, and here we are another week later.
Another week later is the December 16 incident that Robert testified about, is that right?
Right.
Okay, he's testified that these tests are being administered in front of his son. Is that accurate?
Unfortunately, they are sometimes, yes.
And why is that?
Because he just openly does it right in the middle of the driveway. When we first started, I asked him if he wanted to step on my porch and do it. I asked him if he would want to come into my garage and do it, so Preston was not aware. Every time I walk outside to administer the test, I hide it from Preston. Preston's never seen it from me. And Robert just openly does it right in front of Preston or anyone who's there. My dad is sometimes there. Pete usually walks out with me, and that's to keep Preston busy while the test is going on, but Robert just does it out in the open.
He testified that conflict happens. The only conflict that I recall, but if you remember other conflict, I guess you can tell us, was when the dispute arose on December 16 concerning whose machine was going to be used.
Right, that's the only time that I remember conflict with the BAC machine. I complied with his request to use his own the week before. I cleaned the machine, replaced the tip. I didn't think it was going to be an issue for him to use mine, and the same machine he's been using all along.
We've been waiting to receive the results of his substance abuse evaluation through the criminal case. Is that correct?
Correct.
And is that what we're waiting for, to know how to best handle the BAC requirement?
Yes.
He's testified to a couple of prior rehab treatments for his alcohol issues. I take it, and if I'm wrong, correct me, but I take it that during your marriage and during the separation, he would seek counseling or rehabilitation, start back on the road to recovery, and then have a relapse. Is that correct?
Correct.
Does seem to be a kind of a common expectation people have in general. I don't know if it is for your ex-husband, but that seems to be a common expectation.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know of any, he testified there were none, so you're not aware of any other treatments or counseling he's done concerning alcohol since we were in court in September?
Not since September.
Okay.
There are more before that he hasn't mentioned, but yeah.
Okay, so you think he's actually had more than just two?
Right.
All right. Your position that the BAC testing should continue until some objective outside opinion can be rendered as to what his condition actually is and how he's handling his apparent alcoholism.
Yes, I believe it should continue.
You'd be content with those tests being administered before your son comes out of the house if that's necessary?
I would rather it be that way.
You've testified, or he testified, that your fiance, your father, and your fiance's son have come out at the same time as Preston's out there. You've identified why Pete's been there.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any other factors that have led you not to be alone when you're turning Preston over to Robert?
Yes, in the past, when it's just me and Preston, Robert raises his voice at me, tries to start arguments in front of Preston. And then also recently, I have felt threatened based on Facebook posts that were posted by Robert and some of his friends, I believe, that made me feel scared to be in his presence.
Now, the shouting or the conflicts you've had with him, those took place before the September order, is that correct?
Correct.
Since then, in your opinion, have they been, other than December 16th, have they been smooth?
They have, yeah. My father's out there sometimes really just to say goodbye to Preston if he's over at our house. Pete comes out to keep Preston occupied while the test goes on and just to make sure, you know, he stands back just to make sure nothing goes awry, I guess. And I feel comfortable and it's been fine.
And you did provide copies of some of the Facebook postings, which is what led to you feeling threatened, and those were attached as Exhibit 4
Yes.
in the submission that we had.
Yes.
Those were just postings that you received and that created your worry.
Yes.
I have nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Ledger?
Yes, Judge. So Emily, you agree that the BAC testing is happening in front of the child. Is that correct?
Yes. Most of the time. I mean, sometimes Preston's looking, sometimes he's not.
He's in the area, right? He can see it or he can hear it,
Mhm.
right? You agree that your fiance and your father are present too?
My father sometimes, my fiance, yes. He's not
And-
right there, right next to me, but he is in the vicinity where he can see what's going on.
Do you dispute that they surround Robert's vehicle?
I do.
Do they get close to the vehicle?
Not usually, no.
What do you mean not usually? Have they before?
Yeah, Halloween, my father came close to the vehicle to say goodbye to Preston. I think he gave Preston a hug. But that's it. It's really
Do
just,
they stare Robert down?
no.
In any event, though, they're out there, like you testified that they're out there, you bring them out there for protection. Is that your testimony?
Well, kind of just because of the pattern in the past. If it's just Preston and I outside, Robert raises his voice and says unnecessary things to me in front of Preston. So if there's someone outside, even if my fiance is on our front porch, far away from the driveway, Robert seems to just, you know, there is a conflict if there's someone else present, even if they're far away.
If you're intimidated by Robert and there's conflict with other people around, would you have any objection to doing the exchange location at the sheriff's department?
My objection would be that Preston would, I think it's unnecessary, just because if Robert's uncomfortable doing the BAC, he can do it in his parents' car before Preston comes out. There's no conflict as long as he agrees to do the BAC like we've been doing in the past. I feel it would be hard on Preston to try and explain to him why we have to go to a police station for his mother and his father to exchange him. I don't think that's a good idea at this point.
Do you agree that Robert has passed every single BAC test with all zeros so far?
Yes. The ones that he's done.
That's been a lot of tests, hasn't it?
I'm sorry.
That's been a lot of tests, has it not?
I mean, I don't know what you consider a lot, but yes, he's passed the ones that he's taken.
Over 10 of them?
Yes.
Over 20 of them?
I'd have to count the days, but probably at this point.
I mean, since September, right? And he's exercised his parenting time consistently since then, correct?
He's missed some times that he was a no-call, no-show for.
What days were those?
November 4th was a Wednesday. He did not show up and did not call me. Let's see. There's been, well, like phone calls that he's missed, but that doesn't matter, I guess, in this stance. And then there was another time before this all started that, there's been multiple times that he's no called, no showed, but I guess since the BAC, it was November 4th.
Did you ever get an explanation as to that?
I did not.
Okay. So are you disputing that the BAC testing is creating more conflict between you and Robert?
I don't think really that there is, except for December 16th when he refused to use the machine he's used all along.
Well, that was a conflict, was it not?
That was one, yes.
You agree that you've declined to give Robert a BAC test on multiple occasions?
It was not my intention, but when the batteries are dead and I was told last minute where to pick my son up at and I had to rush out of the house, yes, I forgot it.
But Robert, there's been multiple occasions that Robert didn't take a BAC test one and he still exercised parenting time. Is that correct?
It was only at pickup. Every single time Robert has come to pick up Preston from me, he's taken a BAC test. The only times it's ever been forgotten is when I pick Preston up from him.
Would you agree that it's harmful to the child to give this BAC test in front of him and then argue about it?
I'd rather Robert didn't do it in front of Preston, but I suppose that's his choice. And then Wednesday, I kind of stopped the argument and I said, if he's not going to take the BAC on my machine, then based on the court order, then he would not be getting Preston. And that's why I walked away. So it would stop. So there would be no more arguing.
But isn't it true that you were satisfied with Robert using his own machine on multiple occasions?
I was okay with it only once when he used the COVID excuse. I understood that. And so I agreed to it. And then the next week, and that day I said I would clean it and replace the tip and you would use mine the next week. And at that point, he didn't have any objections to it. So on the 16th, I showed him that it was, I pulled out the machine thinking it was going to be just the same normal pickup and he refused. And I showed him that it was a new tip. It had been cleaned. I tested negative. I hadn't had symptoms for weeks. There really was no reason to deny it.
Do you agree that Robert has complied with the supervised parenting time requirement other than the one occasion he talked about when he took Preston to the car wash?
There have been a few more times that I believe he took Preston without supervision. But other than that, yeah.
Do you have any reason to believe that Robert has drank at all since we've entered this order?
Yes, I do.
And what's that testimony based on?
Phone calls. So the day after he did not show up on November 4th. He did call to talk to Preston on that Thursday, November 5th, and he was slurring his words. I took the phone from Preston and got out of Preston's, while he couldn't hear me, and I asked Robert if he had been drinking. He of course said no, but I could tell he was slurring his words. So I said, I'll let you continue to talk to Preston if you please stop slurring your words. And it happened again with slurring the words on November 17th.
So
And
the only evidence you would have is that your testimony is that Robert was slurring his words.
right,
Is that it? Am I understanding you correctly?
Yeah. Yes.
Is there any other alternative that you would have in mind than this BAC testing requirement?
At this time, no. I believe it's still a good thing to have until we get some more information on his treatment and care and his current condition.
You understand he's on probation, correct?
I do, but I believe his probation is unsupervised. Is that
In
right?
any event, do you understand that as a term of his probation, he's not allowed to consume alcohol?
Yes,
You understand he's facing executed time if he violates probation,
okay,
meaning jail time? I'm asking, do you understand that?
yes.
I'm nothing further, Judge.
I have no other questions. Any redirect, Mr. Little?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Okay, anything else, Mr. Little? Any other,
No further evidence, Your Honor.
Mr. Ledger, any further evidence or testimony?
No, Judge.
All right. Okay, we'll address the makeup time here. This will be the easy part. So father is owed a weekend, and father is also owed a midweek visit due to those missed weekends. What I want to look at is Preston is due to go back to mother when school starts, which is January 4th. I'm not for certain if that weekend, which is January 9th, 8, 9, and 10, whose weekend that is. Does anybody know?
Let me look.
That would be mine, Your Honor.
That's his, yeah.
Okay. All right, then here's where we're going to make it up. Father will get him 3 in a row. So he's going to get his makeup on the 15th, 16th, and 17th of January for the missed weekend. Now for the midweek, on that first week of January 4th, he can either have a Tuesday, Thursday, or a Tuesday, Wednesday, or a Wednesday, Thursday. I want to get that midweek done and over with. What's your request, Mr. Campbell?
I'm willing to work it out with whatever works with her. I have no preference, Your Honor. I would presume keep it,
Robert, just pick a day.
Thursday's fine, sir.
All right, and refresh my memory, is he not having overnights during the week?
Correct.
Correct. All right. All right. So he's
Preston
Mr.
has a
Campbell.
dentist appointment on the 7th, so.
Okay. Mr.
that
Campbell,
will-
where do you live?
In Monticello.
Okay. All right. I was making sure because it's going to be quite a bit of travel. What time's the dentist appointment on the 7th, Mom?
3 o'clock in Lafayette.
Okay. All right. Well then, let's make it the 5th. Preston will get his midweek makeup, or the father will get his midweek makeup on the 5th. He'll have his normal 6th. Preston will go with mom on the Thursday to go to the dentist, and then father will have the weekend, 8, 9, 10. Father will have an extra weekend, 15, 16, 17, and back to his normal 22, 23, 24. Those will be for the makeup days. All right, now we're going to address the BAC situation. I will start off with saying that this was agreed upon by the parties. I have been asked to review it today. At this time, I'm just going to tweak some changes. We're going to keep the BAC requirement in place upon the, as the previous order stated, exchange of the child. But these BAC are breath analysis are not to be done in the presence of Preston, your minor child. I'll allow each of you to have one witness available around you. They can be in presence or in eyesight, either or. There's going to be no derogatory remarks made from either of the witnesses. And at any exchange, not just these doing the BACs, I'm going to make sure that neither parent states anything derogatory about each other or about the child in presence of the child. Also, if mother's BAC is dysfunctional, i.e. there's a low battery, she forgets it, it's not usable, or another COVID-related thing issues or a sickness related, then an alternative BAC machine may be used. We will readdress the use of BAC at our next hearing on January 29th, 2020. I want to see how Mr. Campbell does through the holidays. I want to see if we have any stuff back from his substance abuse assessment, see how he's doing on his probation check-ins as well, if he has any there. Last item, I believe, is on the exchange for Christmas, December 26th. You look at the book, I believe it says 2 hours after school started is when it was, so that would put it around 5 o'clock. So I'm going to keep it around 5 o'clock. So the exchange will be December 26th at 5 p.m. I believe that addresses the matters today. Any, Mr. Ledger,
I think that's it. That's everything, Judge.
Mr. Little.
I think you've covered it, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay, all right, we will get this order in place, and I hope that we can get it out to you folks. If not before December 26th, just remind that it's a 5 p.m. exchange, okay? All right, we'll
Yes,
get it
Judge.
sent out to everybody. Wish you good luck, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. We'll see everybody back here on this hearing that we have in this proceeding. I believe it's on January 29th at, boy, I forget the time, sorry, but it is January 29th, 2021.
Yes, Judge. Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.